Hello, hi, it's me, toxiclowfive, and today we're talking about the Forge. Now, I made a video on this game before saying that it could have been better. Got a lot of hate for it. A lot of people disagreed. A lot of people agreed with what I had to say, and a lot of people discredited most of the things I said just because I didn't finish the tutorial or anything. I didn't give the game enough of a chance. Well, you can't say that now. I got to level 20. I got to the second floor, and I played for about 2 hours in total. I played the game for like 2 hours long, and I think I have enough now that I can actually give a very in-depth view of this game and what the issues with the game and what the things that they should improve. Now, do I hate this game? No. I don't know why people think I hate the game. I don't hate the game. If I hated the game, I would say I hate this game. I don't hate the game. I just think that it's not what it lived up to be. Before we jump into it, the reason I'm even making this is because the original devlog showed me a different game that I was actually interested in, and then the final product was not what it wanted it to be, and that's why I didn't like it. And then one more thing is somebody had said that my expectations should be low because it's a Roblox game. No, that's not how things work. But anyway, let's jump into it. So firstly, we got the race system. The race system in this game is just unnecessary. It doesn't really play into the game very well, and it just doesn't seem to add anything to the game. For example, the game would be the exact same if you remove the race system from the game. You wouldn't really notice it not being there. If you remove other parts of the game, if you remove the forging from the game, it becomes now just a mining game. Or if you remove the mining, you can't craft anymore. But if you remove the race system, you don't lose anything other than like a few stat changes that you could just throw onto the weapons anyway. So I feel like the race system is just unnecessary, and the reason it doesn't work is because, one, yes, I know you get the rerolls for free, but it's still a chance. Imagine it like this. So I play this game called Absolvement. If you don't know what Absolvement is, it's a roguelike game. I highly recommend you play it if you like roguelike games. There's different races in the game, but you don't have to re-roll for them or anything. Each race have their pros and cons, and they also play into the game fully well. If you got rid of the race system in that game, it'll be a completely different game. It actually plays into the game, and it makes it really fun. And they're free. You can use whatever you want. But for this game, it just seems like a popularity contest, like most of these games these days. And I think that's why I don't like the race system. And then one more thing that's just more of a nitpick than anything is how the races look themselves. They don't look very appealing. You also don't even have your body type, so you can't even be fully your character anyway. I think an option to also hide armor would be nice, because then it just ends up hiding, the armor just ends up hiding your race anyway, so it's not really a flex anymore. So I feel like that's a little weird, and like I said, the race system just doesn't work very well for the game. Moving on, the main gameplay loop, which is mining, forging, combat, and quests. Now, the mining feels pretty fluid, I won't lie. Like, the animations are really nice, and like the feedback between hits and the camera shake, it feels good. And then the sound effects are pretty nice as well. It doesn't really matter when it gets like boring in the next 5 minutes just mining the same ore over and over again. I don't even know what they could do for it because it's a mining system, so I guess it gets the job done, but it's not anything I would write home about. It's a pretty boring thing. It's not like there's like a mini game in between or anything. It's just fine. It gets the work's done. It doesn't do anything new, but it also doesn't do anything bad. So it's just boring after a while, because I mean, it is just mining, but for the most part it's fine. But from what I see, the mining is so boring that I've been seeing a lot of people just AFK grinding the mining and fighting as well, because the fighting isn't fun. Once you're high enough level to not die, you just AFK everything from what I see. Like my friend was doing it. I saw another person AFK fighting. It just kind of sucks that that's the way it is. That a lot of these kind of games kind of do that. It's the same way like Fish and other similar games. People just AFK grind everything. But I mean, to be fair, it is pretty boring to do, so I can understand that. Another thing with the mining is ore stealing. Now, I didn't have this issue personally. I just know a lot of my friends did. Apparently, exploiters and stuff could just like steal the ore, because you know the ores are global. Everybody can hit the ores unless you hit it first. If there's an exploiter just killing all of them in like one hit, you're never gonna get an ore. I mean, yes, you could server up and stuff, but I think the easiest way of fixing this is to either make the ores client side or give us some private servers. So you could just go and grind. I don't think you lose anything. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to go and do private servers. It's not like there's like exclusive boss fights that spawn every hour or something, and people could just keep like exploiting it by having multiple private servers open or anything. So I think having private servers for free, or at least really cheap, is something they should do. Next, we got the forging. The forging itself. Now, the mini games are pretty cool. They're taken from this game called Jacksmith. It's a Flash game, a really old Flash game. I think they get the job done. They're pretty cool. They're not boring or anything, and it keeps you like not getting bored, and you actually have to pay attention. But the problem is, I mean, only one of the mini games actually matter. For example, the first one has you pumping up the whatever you want to call that, pump that thing. That sounds horrible. And then after that they also have the thing where you like pour the molten, then you go craft the weapon by hammering it. But the other two don't really matter for the final stats of the weapon. It's only the final one that actually does. So if you just remove the 2 other mini games, it'll be the exact same. And I think that's an issue. And I don't think removing it is the part, because it is nice to see the weapon. You turn your ores into the molten, and then the molten into the metal, and then you hammer the metal. It makes sense. But I think the best way of fixing that is to make it so that each of them adds a part to the stats. I don't know how they could do it, but I feel like each of them should matter. Like maybe the faster you do use the pump part, you get a better stat or something like that. I feel that that's something you need to do. It's fleshed out, but it needs to be, all 3 of the mini games should matter in the long run, because it's kind of stupid that we just have 3 mini games and only one of them matters. The biggest problem, in my opinion, with the game is the percentage-based crafting, or RNG, whatever you want to call it. Just the randomness and like the chance of making a weapon doesn't work, especially later on in the game. Now, for example, I wanted to make a rapier. I had 3 chances to make the rapier. I had a high chance. It was like 80% or something like that. But the problem was it had 3 different weapons that were in that category, which is the short sword weapon. And I ended up making the saber. Now, the saber was a good weapon. It did a lot of damage, but I didn't want that. I wanted to make a rapier because I love rapiers. That's my favorite kind of sword. I wanted to make one, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work out for me. I did it again. I finally got it, tested it out, and I just used the same animations as the regular cutlass. And I don't think anybody, have you ever seen anybody in fencing using a rapier like that? No, they would get killed. If you're gonna make chances for things, at least have unique animations for all of them. I understand using the same animations for like sword type weapons, but when the things are like so different, like a rapier or a great sword or a scythe, you can't use the same animations as other weapons. It just ends up looking lazy. In this instance, it did look lazy, and it was a little upset. I feel removing the randomness of crafting would help the game a lot. I would make it so you can actually flex the kind of weapons you want to use, because I think that's what people do in this game. They get the best ores and they put it on their weapons. And I think being able to have less randomness in the game would be nice, because there's a lot of randomness. You got the RNG of the mining, you have the RNG of crafting, and then you have the RNG of hoping the one that you're actually crafting is the one you want. So yeah, that's something they should definitely fix. And I think removing the randomness altogether is what they should do. You should just be able to pick whatever you want. And it also gets worse when you come into the level-based crafting. Now, there's level-based crafting when you get to like level 20. There's like level 25 armors and stuff like that. I think weapons as well, but I didn't get to that part. I didn't get there, but I assume it works the same way, and it's a chance that you can't actually pick what you want. But I don't know. I'm hoping and praying that you do, but I didn't play that far to find out. I'm sorry. Then another thing that makes it really hard for crafting and gathering materials in general is the limited space. Now, you might be like saying, oh, you could just buy space with gold. Yes, I know that, but the problem is, as an early player, only being able to craft 5 items is not good. I feel like you should start with at least 10 to 15 starter spaces, because at least that way you can actually make money, because the less space you have, the less money you can make. Let me say I wanted to go for mine for an hour, right? And I wanted to go craft a whole bunch of stuff so I can make some money off of that and XP. You can't do that because of the limited space. And since you're a starter player, you kind of can't really use that money to go and open more slots, because you have to catch up. You have to grind, you have to progress, you have to buy the pickaxes, you have to buy the potions and stuff. It's just too much stuff uses gold, and I don't think early on players should be having to focus on storage. Storage should only become a problem midway through the game, not at the very beginning. Moving on to the combat. Now, I'm not a big fan of the combat, unfortunately, and I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but I feel like the combat is a bit sluggish and a little bit clunky at times. Like, for example, like when you are fighting some enemies, they can roll, and it's kind of weird. Like, when they roll, it feels so jarring, in my opinion. And then, like, you can parry, but the parrying system doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel like, for example, if you play like Deep Walking, you know when you parry, you get that parry off, you're like, oh, I got that parry. But in this game, there's not really that much of an indication, and it feels kind of weak in the sense. I don't know how to explain it. You have to play it for yourself to understand it, but it feels kind of weak. I thought the combat would have been a lot bigger of a part of the game, considering we're mostly making weapons and armor to go fight enemies. There isn't even that many enemies to fight either. They're mostly just the same enemies, just some of them attack faster. I mean, there was a bomb guy. That guy was cool, but there's no bosses currently in the game yet. But this is in beta, so I expect them to have bosses later on, maybe global bosses and stuff like that. So I would assume people would be grinding up, getting ready for that, so you can get exclusive items from that. Hopefully it drops weapons too. I hope they do that. It doesn't have, we shouldn't have to craft everything. I don't like the fact that it slows us down every time we swing and stuff. But yeah, I think I think it could do better, but it gets a pass. It gets the job done, so I can't really complain about it. I just don't really like how it feels. Now, the next part that I know a lot of people might disagree with me with is the quest system. Now, the quests aren't that bad at the start of the game. You like kill 4 enemies, get a few ores. If you get lucky, you can finish those pretty quickly. When you get to the second world, that's where it gets really bad. For example, this one guy I met, he's this depresso espresso guy, and he asked for a health potion. So I bought the health potion. I went to him, and I got called a joke for giving him that. So I stupidly went back to the first world, bought the first potion, and that one worked. This goofy boofy guy, bro, wanted a specific health potion. He wouldn't take the level 2. That's too good for him. He's a peasant. He needs the level 1 potion to heal himself. After that, the problem that actually arose was when we got past that and I grabbed all of the quests. We got the elite threat, facet extraction, and skeleton threat. Now, why the hell, bro? Always again want me to kill almost 100 enemies per quest. Not even like all of them together per quest. That's crazy. And then 150 ores. This is the second world. Why do I have to do so much work on the second world? Like, they're making it feel like endgame stuff. Like, this is stuff you get like when you're like way later in the game, when you're like level 50. Why am I allowed to pick these if they're gonna be so stupidly difficult? I thought the second world would be, I'll be killing like 20 enemies, maybe 15 or so, but no, it's insane. It wants me to do almost 200 ores. That's not good. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but that was like that. I almost quit the game right there just because of that. It felt really bad. Now, I understand that there needs to be late game quests for a lot of players, as there's a lot of players at level 50 and stuff, but I think the way of fixing that would just be to just have another world, have more worlds, you know, for late game people. I made the second floor, I thought was going to be the part that was going to get you into the main course of the game, but that's not really what it was. It felt like that was the end game part of the game, and I was just stuck on floor 1 still, and I should have still been doing the stuff there. Everybody was telling me that world 2 was going to get a lot better, but no, I don't really think so. It changed my mind. I did change my mind on the game a bit. I do see why people play the game. I see why people like it. I see why people take their time. I see it could get addicting. I just see this is one of those games you can play while you're watching YouTube or listening to music, and you just want to turn your brain off and play something. These are one of those games. But is it an actual good game for Roblox? No. It's a major improvement over the brain rot games we've been getting recently, but it's still just not that good. It's just a it's an okay game. It's just okay. If you play it with friends, you will have a lot more fun, but it's just an okay game. I can't really like say it's good, because it's just, again, it's just like Fish and all these other games. It's similar to them. I know it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to them with a little bit more steps. That's what it feels like. And yeah, but if you like the game, that's cool. I would give it a 6 to 7 out of 10. It gets the job done. It's nothing special. It's nothing too bad. I feel like it could have been better if they went with the original vision instead of wanting to make as much money as possible, which is why I suspect they did. And it paid off for them. They're getting like 500,000 players, and I'm happy for them. I'm glad a top game is not a brain rot game, but I still feel like this game could have been better. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you disagreed with anything I said, can you leave it in the comments? I would like to have a discussion. Be respectful. I don't hate the game, okay? Anyway, goodbye.